In the headlines on this Monday, South Korea's unification minister leaves for the U.S. to discuss North Korea issues. This as Seoul seeks to find a new momentum in improving inter-Korean ties. The president of the International Olympic Committee suggests that Korea's Pyeongchang, the host city of the 2018 Winter Olympics, have other countries host certain events. Officials in Korea are not warm to the idea. And what started out as peaceful demonstrations have turned violent. Protests against the Eric Garner case in New York are still ongoing across the U.S. Stay tuned for these and more on Early Edition at 6. Hello and welcome, everyone. You're watching Early Edition at 6, brought to you live from Seoul. I'm Na-hyun-kyung.
And I'm Daniel Che. Thank you for joining us. First up, South Korean unification minister Ryoo Kihl-jae has embarked on a trip to the United States.
Well, it's a week-long trip that will take him to Washington and LA. Topping his agenda will be issues and policies related to North Korea. Arirang's Hwang Sung-hee has more.
In Washington, South Korean Unification Minister Ryoo Kihl-jae will meet with senior officials, including Undersecretary of State for Political Affairs Wendy Sherman and lawmakers vocal on North Korea issues such as Ed Royce and Marco Rubio. His trip marks the first visit to the U.S. by a South Korean unification minister since 2011 and comes as Seoul seeks out new momentum in inter-Korean relations. A senior South Korean official told reporters that the government must actively consider incentives for North Korea to resolve the issue of war-separated families who are now in their 80s and 90s. Stressing its utmost importance, the official said it would be an international shame if the government failed to resolve the matter. Although he did not elaborate on what the incentives could be, it's widely speculated South Korea is considering the lifting of economic sanctions imposed on the North in 2010. The sanctions came after North Korea torpedoed a South Korean warship, killing 46 soldiers. The official stressed Pyongyang must apologize for the attack for the sanctions to be lifted, but added all issues will be open for discussion if the two Koreas meet for talk. Pundits say the South Korean government should seek a package deal that includes an apology from the North for the 2010 attack, the lifting of sanctions, and the issue of war-separated families for a much-needed breakthrough in inter-Korean relations. Hwang Sang-hee, Arirang News.
And North Korea was also on President Park Geun-hye's mind this Monday. Addressing a room full of political and economic leaders from across the globe, she brought their attention to her vision for a trust politic once again. Our presidential office correspondent Choi Yu-sun brings us the details.
In an era where countries are mutually dependent and intertwined like a spider web, President Park Geun-hye says North Korea's nuclear development is a grave threat to peace not only on the Korean peninsula and in Northeast Asia, but to the entire world. At the annual World Policy Conference in Seoul Monday, the South Korean president referred to her trust politic plan, which seeks to build trust, expand non-political exchanges and economic cooperation with the North, then in Northeast Asia and beyond across Eurasia. President Park, however, said Pyongyang should also take the initiative for laying down its nuclear arms so that the international community can help with its economic development. As for Korea's complex relationship with China and Japan over historical and territorial differences, the Korean leader said that three countries can do so much more together in areas such as nuclear safety and tackling climate change, similar to a multilateral process in Europe. And then came her vision to connect Asia and Europe by constructing energy and logistics infrastructure to spur regional growth and restore stability. President Park also shared her belief that a reunification of the two Koreas would be a bonanza for all of humanity.
특히 한반도의 평화 통일은 평화와 번영의 새로운 동북아 시대를 열고 유라시아를 넘어 세계 평화와 안보를 위한 글로벌 거버넌스 강화에 중요한 기여를 할 것입니다.
The three-day forum will also address global issues, including the crisis in Ukraine and the threat of Islamic State militants in the Middle East. 최유선, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea says it was not behind the recent cyber attack on Sony Pictures and has pointed fingers elsewhere. While denying responsibility, North Korea's National Defense Commission, however, did say the hack, and this is a quote, the hack might be the righteous deed of the supporters and sympathizers of the North. Last week's cyber attack completely paralyzed Sony Pictures' computer systems and leaked a handful of previously unreleased films, including the movie The Interview, onto the internet. Although in a comical way, the film depicts the assassination of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and is still due for release in the United States later this month. Bloomberg, quoting an unnamed source, is reporting that the attack originated from a hotel in the Thai capital of Bangkok.
We shift our focus from Pyongyang to Pyeongchang, the host city for the 2018 Winter Olympics. They've been given the option of holding a few of the events in foreign venues, possibly Nagano, Japan. The very idea of being forced to share the honor of hosting a global sporting event with Japan again is sure to upset a lot of Korean sports fans. But the IOC president does present a valid point in terms of saving a great deal of money. Our Song Ji-sun tells us more.
It took Pyeongchang 3 attempts to win the rights to host the Winter Olympics. But when the flame is lit and the games get underway in February 2018, some of the events could be taking place elsewhere. The International Olympic Committee has offered a Pyeongchang Organizing Committee the chance to host some of the events in other countries. The decision will be Pyeongchang's to make, though. The IOC's Coordination Commissioner Geunhye Linberry told AP that Pyeongchang gets the final say on whether the games stay within the city or whether it takes the opportunity to host some events elsewhere. These proposals are part of the IOC President Thomas Bach's package of reforms dubbed Agenda 2020. The agenda is part of the IOC's bid to change the Olympic Games to better adapt in the changing world for financial and sustainability reasons.
If we do not address these challenges here and now, we will be hit by them very soon. If we do not drive these changes ourselves, others will drive us to them.
According to the IOC, hosting sledding events in pre-existing venues would save Pyeongchang $120 million in construction costs and up to $5 million a year in maintenance. After voting on Agenda 2020 on Monday and Tuesday, the IOC will hand over a list of potential cities to the Pyeongchang Organizing Committee, which has until March to make its decision. The candidates include Nagano in Japan and Salt Lake City in the U.S., as well as 10 other sites in Europe, America, and Asia. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Well, Pyeongchang worked too long and too hard, and the fact of the matter is Pyeongchang has the final say in this matter. And leaders here in Korea were quick to jump in with opposition to the IOC's suggestion. President Park Geun-hye was quoted as saying that hosting the games along with other countries was an unacceptable option and asked that efforts be made to end discussions on the matter. Organizers of the Pyeongchang Organizing Committee said if the IOC attempts to push its plan forward, they will resist. And Choi Moon-soon, the governor of Gangwon-do province, says it would be impossible to change event venues now, as construction on 6 new stadiums is already underway.
The outrage in the United States over 2 grand jury decisions not to indict white police officers in the deaths of 2 unarmed black men continues to mount. Protests have broken out in several U.S. cities. Most of them have been peaceful, while others led to clashes. Shin Se-min reports.
Signs saying things like, "I can't breathe," and "Black Lives Matter" fill the streets of major U.S. cities in protest, some of which were peaceful, some of which were violent. The ongoing marches and protests in major cities like New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, and Oakland were all spurred last week by a grand jury that decided not to indict a white police officer in a chokehold death of an unarmed black man, Eric Garner. Some of the demonstrations have turned violent. In the Northern California city of Oakland, protesters poured onto a highway late Sunday night and threw explosives, injuring 2 officers. City officers responded with tear gas and arrests. In New York, protesters chanted, "Don't shoot, hands up," as they marched through the streets of Manhattan, while others staged a symbolic die-in by lying down on the floor of Grand Central Terminal. The families of the victim joined civil rights activist Al Sharpton on Staten Island at the site where Garner died in July. They thanked protesters across the country. Sharpton also announced plans to organize more rallies in the near future and to press for charges against the police officer in question, Daniel Pantaleo, at the federal level. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
Some 1,000 South Korean travelers have been grounded in the Philippines due to Typhoon Hagupit. Reports say these are people who had arrived in destinations like Boracay and Manila since last Wednesday. Now, the storm is slowly making its way out of the country after forcing more than 1 million residents to take cover. Seoul's foreign ministry has issued a travel warning to the Philippines. The Secretary General of the Philippine Red Cross says 21 people have been killed since the typhoon made landfall on Saturday. Now, the storm brought winds of up to 175 kilometers an hour, knocking down power and phone lines and flattening homes in an area near the region devastated by last year's Typhoon Haiyan that killed thousands of people.
You know, flight attendants, flight services, especially Korean Airlines, they are exceptional. I've never had any reasons to complain, but apparently we hear a lot of cases where passengers had arguments or they got angry for the most unreasonable cases against these ladies. And we have some news that's been making people here in Korea frown a little bit more or tilt their heads a little bit.
Well, I'm assuming that you're talking about Vice President of Korean Air, Cho Yeon-ah, also the daughter of Chairman Cho Yang-ho. And what happened was that on Friday, an Incheon-bound flight from New York returned to the gate after the plane was completely ready for takeoff.
Well, reports say it was because Cho Yeon-ah yelled and ordered the flight attendant to get off the flight for handing her peanuts that were still in the package.
Well, apparently that's not Korean Air's protocol for offering peanuts to first-class customers. I didn't know that, but they are supposed to be offered in a bowl, and the public is slamming Cho for her actions, as aviation safety regulations state that only the captain of the plane should supervise flight attendants.
Well, this incident is reported to have caused an 11-minute delay in their arrival. The Transport Ministry says she should have acted as a normal passenger and is in the process of finding out whether Cho's actions violate the law.
And now time for this week's Industry Insight. The entertainment agencies mainly behind the K-pop and K-drama crazes are not limiting themselves to only those two areas and are turning their eyes to other industries.
Right, they have vessels that carry so much more than they already offer these days. Well, some of them include fashion and travel packages. Here's our Connie Kim with more.
Fantastic, baby.
Big Bang, Girls' Generation, Super Junior. There are few K-pop stars who have taken the world by storm, capped off, of course, by Psy and his YouTube hit Gangnam Style. Behind every great act in Korea is an entertainment agency that cultivates and promotes them. And leading the pack is YG Entertainment, one of the powerhouses driving the so-called Hallyu, or Korean wave. Founded in 1996, it created a success formula with idol groups like Big Bang and 21 and went public on Korea's tech-heavy compact stock market 3 years ago. YG now boasts annual revenue of some $104 million, more than 250 employees, and more than 20 artists under its belt. On the back of their success, entertainment giants are now branching out to other businesses. In September, YG launched apparel brand Nonigan, using its fashionable artists who influence fans all over the world to market it. Through pop-up stores in Italy, Hong Kong, and China, it aims to rake in $90 million by 2017.
I've always thought that fashion and music go in line together. When we think of Big Bang and 21, we think of their songs, but behind their performances, it's their styling and fashion that makes them a whole.
It even jumped on the popularity of Korean cosmetics with its own line, Moonshot, targeting K-pop fans with Asian facial features. Recognizing YG's growth potential, French luxury goods giant LVMH has announced it'll invest up to $80 million in the company. While YG may be at the top right now when it comes to branching out, it's not the first. SM Entertainment, a Hallyu pioneer, started diversifying its business 2 years ago. It acquired travel agency BTNI, offering music fans special concert tours in Korea. And last year, SM collaborated with publisher Design House to release the lifestyle magazine The Celebrity, printing an average of 80,000 copies a month.
As these SM and YG are entering these businesses, they could probably see some synergy when they utilize their artists in those areas. And as from customer standpoint, if they get more touch points.
Market watchers say it's important for them to keep their capital flowing, as it's too early to call these ventures a success. To promote their new businesses, it's also vital to keep the K-pop boom going.
In addition to reaching out to other industries, it's important that they stick to their original source of profit, producing good music to expand their fan base worldwide.
If YG and SM's new business ventures enjoy the same success that K-pop has, it'll not only provide a new source for profits, it'll also give a boost to a new kind of Korean wave. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Business partner face a one-day entry ban. 77.
Digging deeper, getting to the bottom of stories that impact your life. Talking with you on air and online. Connecting you with experts on the world's most pressing issues. News and current affairs at its best. With Na Hyung-kyung and Daniel Che.
Arirang News.
Arirang News.
Arirang News.
On Early Edition at 6.
The Japanese economy is in recession. This as revised third quarter figures came out on Monday. It shrank more than it was expected to and prompting concerns over government efforts to boost growth. Our Hwang Ji-hye has the details.
Expectations of economic growth in Japan have been thwarted, with the government announcing worse than expected third quarter figures on Monday. Japan's economy contracted nearly 2% in the 3 months leading up to the end of September from a year earlier. That is well above an initial forecast of 1.6%. The drop means Japan is in a technical recession as it marks 2 straight quarters of decline. In the previous quarter, the world's third largest economy shrank more than 7% from the previous year. That was the biggest slump since March 2011, when the country was hit by a devastating earthquake and tsunami. The second quarter figure was affected by a rise in the sales tax from 5% to 8% in April. The contraction has set off alarm bells and prompted Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to call a snap election in hopes of postponing another tax increase to 10%, which is scheduled for 2015. On a quarterly basis, the Japanese economy also dropped 0.5% in the July to September period, showing that the tax increase continues to take a toll. The figure is weaker than the 0.4% decline reported in an earlier estimate. The worse-than-expected recession largely stems from a drop in business spending that plunged 0.4% from the second quarter. Earlier forecasts pointed to a 0.2% dip in business spending. Hwang Ji-hye, Arirang News.
Well, back here in Korea, with household debt piling up to a record high, financial regulators are seeking ways to control it while at the same time promoting domestic consumption. Government policymakers have been urging the Bank of Korea to cut its key interest rate one more time following 2 rounds of cuts this year to help bolster domestic demand. But the central bank has expressed concern that such expansionary monetary policies risk making the debt problem spin out of control. Now, the easing of regulations over mortgage loans earlier this year has been widely blamed for the recent increase in household debt, which hit a new high of $950 billion in September.
Most of the times you want to skip through all of them. Sometimes it can be surprisingly informative, educational, or informative, and of course entertaining at times. They used to be focused on TVs and newspaper and then all over the internet. And now they are migrating to the mobile sector. The amount spent on mobile advertisements is growing at a rapid pace here in Korea. For this story, we have our Kim Hyun-bin.
The internet prompted advertisers to reallocate big chunks of their budgets from television to online media. Now, they have shifted their focus to the mobile phone advertising market. It's a market that has grown significantly here since the advent of the smartphone. And experts believe it's only a matter of time before the trend set by Korea will be followed by other nations. According to a new report by U.S. market research, eMarketer, the amount of money spent on mobile advertisements made up more than 38% of all online ads taken out by Korean businesses this year. That's up 18 percentage points from 2013, and well above the international mean of 26% for this year. But there's plenty of room for growth. The report predicts that mobile advertisements will surpass online advertisements by the end of next year, and will make up more than 73% of the total online market by 2018. When the international average will approach 60%. Expect a similar boom in the mobile payment transaction market. In the first quarter of 2013, the market stood at little over $1 billion in Korea. Just months later, by the end of the third quarter, the number has soared more than threefold to roughly $3.5 billion. With smartphones now in the pockets of so many people, expect advertisers and businesses to continue tapping into them, with hopes of reaching as many potential customers as possible. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Smart wearable devices may be taking off here in Korea. SK Telecom's T Outdoor service, which is tailored toward wearable devices, has seen its number of subscribers surpass 25,000 since its launch in early November. SK officials are touting that figure as exceptional when compared to the rate of subscribers to its cell phone plans. Another data plan by KT called Ole Wearable is also drawing strong interest. Within a month of going live, the service added more than 10,000 subscribers. LG U Plus says it's planning to launch its own wearable device plans soon.
A couple of weeks ago, we brought you a report about a pair of glasses that works like a computer mouse for paralyzed people. Today, our Kim In-ji has more examples of technology making life easier for the less able.
Technology continues to find new ways to enrich our lives. This tablet PC can translate sign language. A 3D sensor detects the sign language and interprets it into text or sound.
Hello, my name is Ryan. What's your name?
When words are spoken, they are shown as text on the screen. The tablet, created by technicians with hearing impairments, expands the scope of communication between the disabled and non-disabled. This device aids people with visual impairments. A camera on the side of the glass reads text on the products. When you place your finger on the text, the speaker plays it out loud. It can also inform the wearer of the color of traffic lights and the value of cash they are holding.
$50.
Thank you very much. The technology enables users to ride the bus alone and read menus, making their lives more convenient than ever. Devices that help patients who are paralyzed from the waist down walk have also become more sophisticated. Made using fiber, this robot outfit allows the walking to look more natural. It can also detect obstacles that may be in the way.
Wearable robot to really help with walking. It's really critical or to provide the right level of assistance at the right time for the wearer.
These are technological developments that no doubt inspire hope in millions of disabled people worldwide. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
In the world of movies, the success of the Hollywood blockbuster Interstellar is eating into the market share of Korean movies. According to the Korean Film Council, domestic films accounted for just 21% of movie tickets sold in November, the lowest monthly figure this year. Foreign films, one in particular, filled that vacuum. While Korean films attracted just 3.25 million viewers in November, nearly 12 million tickets were sold for foreign movies. More than 9 million of them were for Christopher Nolan's Interstellar, which has disappointed some but captivated most Korean audiences since being released on November 6th. Well, I would say it was a relatively warm start to our week.
Well, given that it's still winter, right? Let's turn to our Michelle Park at the Weather Center for the latest. Michelle.
Good evening, guys. After all that snow, the air feels much more refreshing, and today we finally got to see some clear skies over our nation. Now, the cold weather has eased a bit as well, with temperatures about 3 to 4 degrees higher compared to yesterday. Now, although the temperatures have gone up, it's still colder than the seasonal average too. Now, this warm weather is expected to continue throughout the week. However, nationwide snow is expected on Wednesday and Thursday, which will bring back down the temperatures a bit. And also make sure to remember that even with the warm highs, our nighttime temperatures drop pretty quickly. And to our readings for tomorrow, so we'll start off the Tuesday morning at -6 degrees before reaching up to 5 degrees in the afternoon. Meanwhile, the southern cities such as Daegu and Busan will reach up to 8 and 10 degrees. Now moving over to other regions, we'll see Jeju up to 10, while Dokdo hits a bit lower at 5, while Gangneung reaches down to 0 degrees. Well, that's all for now, Michelle Park, and have a wonderful evening.
Well, thanks, Michelle. That brings us to the end of our newscast. Thank you for staying with us. To our viewers in different time zones, do have a wonderful day. This has been Daniel Choi.
And I'm Na Hyun-Kyung. If you are tuning in from Korea, have a great evening. Daniel and I will be back tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.